Hello Bookworms. Welcome to the Weekend Readers Book Club. Thank you for joining us. In this episode, we are discussing the adventure novel, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum, released in the early 1900s. Now, if you don't know the story of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, it is an adventure novel where a young girl named Dorothy gets taken away from her homeland in Kansas into another magical land where she meets a scarecrow, a tin woodman, and a lion, and goes on a journey to defeat witches, evil, and meets the great Oz himself, whom can, grant magical requests, I guess. This story takes you from the west side of the magical land all the way to the centre and the east, up to the north, and everywhere else in between as you follow Dorothy, Toto, her dog, and the woodman, scarecrow, and lion on their adventure to defeat the evil witches, to then have their requests granted by the magical Oz himself of brains for the scarecrow, heart for the tin woodman, courage for the lion, and to go home back to Kansas for Dorothy. Now, what I liked about this book was it was a nice short read. It was under 200 pages, and it was a fairly easy read with not a lot of boring parts. It put you right into the action straight away. What I didn't like about this book was pretty much all of it. It bored me, unfortunately, and I understand that this book is a classic. However, reading it and thus being engrossed with the story to take me onto a journey to Oz and feel like that I'm there as one of the characters or with the characters along their journey, I just couldn't get into it. It fell short, but again, that's just me. You may pick up this book or may have read this book previously and thought it was a magical book. And again, that's the great thing about reading, that people can read literature and make their own decisions on whether or not it was their cup of tea at the end of it. Now, I did read the whole book. I got through it. As I said, it was an easy read to follow, and there wasn't a lot of dull moments in the book, so it was constantly always something to do, always something carrying on the storyline, but it just didn't take me into the story as much as I wished it would. Now, I get that this book was written early 1900s, and we've came a long way in relation to the way literature or novels are expressed and written over the past 120 odd years. Now, it's not taking anything away from the book itself, it's just when I read it, it didn't take me to Oz, it didn't take me to Dorothy, it didn't make me feel part of the story. It just felt like I was somewhat overseeing the story and I couldn't get wholeheartedly into it. Now again, that could be because of the literature, or it could be just a simple fact that it has been turned into a movie and everybody remembers the movie, let alone the book. But the book itself, it was good. I got through it. I just wouldn't necessarily go out of my way to read it again. Put it that way. This is not a bag on the author or the book, because who am I to say a piece of art or a piece of literature is absolutely terrible when I haven't written a book myself. I'm just telling you that the story that I was reading, I could not get invested in it. And that's okay, because you may go out and read this yourself and feel that's the most wonderful piece of writing ever, and it is deemed to be a classic based on that. And that's okay, because you interpreted books however you want to, and I will interpret books however I want to. Now, with that being said, Will this book go on my bookshelf? If it was based solely on the literature and the story itself, no, it wouldn't. But knowing that this book is a classic book, and in theory, my children may read it and may get enjoyment out of it at a younger age than what I am, yes, it will go on the bookshelf for that reason, because it is a classic and it can somewhat stand the test of times, I'm guessing. But again, just not for me. I will let my kids read it and decide if they enjoy it themselves when it comes that time. Now you, the listener, can make your own decision on whether or not you like The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. If you have not read this book before, feel free to use our links in the bio to go and purchase this book to see if you enjoy it yourself. You will be able to pick up this book in audio form, electronic form, or even paperback using the links in our bio that will take you through to Amazon. Now, as we say here, as one book closes, another must open. So it is now time to find out what the Weekend Readers The Next Read will be. The Weekend Readers Book Club The Next Read is brought to you by Fontytees. It's just fonts, on teas and more over at fontytees.com. The next read for the Weekend Readers Book Club is Camino Wins by John Grisham. This should be an interesting book. I'm really looking forward to reading this book, as John Grisham is my favourite author. Now, while this is not a courtroom drama like my favourite book, The Runaway Jury, this book is set somewhat in current times, based on a hurricane and murder. So let's see if this book stands the test of time and John Grisham can hit it out the park yet again for me. So that is our episode, our recap and discussion of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. If you're reading along at home with us or wish to engage us, feel free. You can via Instagram, where you can find us at Weekend Readers Book Club, or on YouTube, which we are at The Weekend Readers. So until next time, thank you again for joining us, and bookworms, happy reading.